Furbies, oh my god. I'm not gonna lie to you, I had a Furby that I thought was possessed. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel for today's video. I'm so excited to be reading some true paranormal stories from Reddit. So I've got a few compiled up here that I have gotten approved to read. Honestly, it's been so much fun reading through these on Reddit and just kind of like asking the authors if I could read them. I did one of these last week. It didn't do so well and I'm kind of shocked because these are so much fun for me to watch. So if this is genuinely something you're not interested in, I totally understand. You can watch any of my other videos. But Halloween is literally my most favorite time of year, so I have to take advantage of this time and read some fun spooky stories. And honestly, I think I'm going to be doing these weekly throughout October. I don't know, maybe beyond that if they do well enough. I don't know, we'll see, because honestly, it's not going very well and I'm very sad because these are fun to do. Anyway, I'm also doing 31 days of Halloween over on Instagram and TikTok, where I am posting a new makeup look every single day. I am really happy with this look. It's so much fun. And yeah, I mean, like, I'll have all the details of my makeup linked down below. This is also coming in a tutorial form later on in the month in like a compilation type thing as a tutorial. But yeah, if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe. I hope that we can get spooky together, and let's get into it. Oh, I'm also going to be linking down below the people that I'm getting inspiration from. Bailey Saren's my huge inspiration, honestly. But I got this idea in particular from my friend Twisted Glam, who I also linked in my last video, and I just have to talk about her every single time. And I'm about to take another piece of her videos and tell you what candle I'm burning while I read these spooky stories. So this is Vanilla Pumpkin Marshmallow. This one's okay. It's not my absolute favorite. It does have a hint of vanilla, a hint of pumpkin. It's cute, but it's not my favorite. I like the cinnamon bun one more. I like cinnamon pumpkin bun, cinnamon pumpkin swirl, something like that, whatever it's called. Why is there so much fuzz flying around? Do you guys see that? Not sure what's going on there. And the mood is set. Also, it's raining outside. It's like the most perfect gloomy day to read these stories. I'm so excited. Also, I'm wearing my Halloween Horror Nights shirt. I went this year. So much fun. I went like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, at the end of September. Anyway, let's get comfy and cozy. We'll see how many I get through today, because I don't know if they're kind of long, but the last one was super long. I thought that was super interesting, so I'm very sad I didn't do well. We'll see how this one goes. Anyway, this is the first one. It's from the Reddit thread Paranormal, and it's the user Parzi Fail. And the story is called "As a Correctional Officer, I've Had Tons of Experiences." I love these. Okay. I worked as a correctional officer for a long time. I've worked at facilities in Texas and in Michigan. The oldest prison I've ever worked at just recently started to close in Michigan. And it got me thinking about all the paranormal experiences I've had there and in other prisons I've worked at. I'd like to share with you some of the more notable paranormal experiences that I've had while working in these prisons. First off, I'd like to say that I never really believed in ghosts before I started working as a correctional officer. I started off working in Texas at an intake facility. I worked night shifts 12 hours from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. The first experience that I ever had was working on a lower security housing unit. When finishing a round, I was chatting with my partner and I heard a loud banging sound. It was at like 3 a.m. at this point. No prisoners should be out of their bunks. I asked my partner if they knew what the banging was. They, being an older officer, told me bluntly that the unit we were working at was haunted. They told me that the sound was coming from a door of one of the small, quiet cells in a hallway, not directly visible from the officer's station, and about how a prisoner had died in one. The prisoner allegedly died because the officers working there at the time had given them a sack of food when it was lunchtime for the prisoners, and the prisoner had choked on the food and died. I didn't really believe that the unit was haunted, so I decided to go look at this door. The sound volume increased as I got closer to the door. The door itself was visibly shaking as if someone was pounding on it. There was nothing that could have been causing the door to shake like it was. I was at a loss for words. Later that night, I checked the door again, and there was a steamed-up handprint visible on the glass of the door's window. Ooh, that's pretty scary, but I don't know. It could have been someone just messing with him, honestly. I don't know if I'm hugely, if I believe in the paranormal. I've never had a paranormal experience. If you have had one, let me know. I would love to know. Anyway, this dude has more stories. Another experience I had was at the same facility, but at a different housing unit. It was around 1 to 2 a.m., and I was sitting inside the officer station watching the cameras and talking to my partner. I look at one of the cameras and clearly see a prisoner at his table in the day room. I turned my head to look at the day room, and no one was sitting at the table I just saw on camera. I asked my partner to go check it out because no one is supposed to be out of bed yet. I rolled back the time on the camera to see if I could see where the prisoner might have gone, and the prisoner on the camera literally slowly fades away and vanishes completely. My partner comes back into the officer station and we both watch this video over and over. Later on that same night during one of my rounds, I noticed a wet floor sign that got left out, and I return it to the porter closet. I get back to the officer station and look back to where the porter closet is, and I see the same wet floor sign left out. I ask my partner if they are playing a joke on me or something because I just put the sign away and my partner denies doing anything with it. I go back out and I make sure the sign gets put back in the closet and lock the door. Get back in the officer station. Wet floor sign right back out there again. Oh my gosh. My partner and I are both watching this wet floor sign now. It starts to tip over on one end very slowly, two of its legs off the ground. The sign then slams itself to the ground. It then proceeded to slide up quickly, then back to in front of the closet door before ceasing all movement. My partner and I refused to come out of the officer station for the rest of the night because we were scared shitless. Damn. One more notable one from Texas. I was working in an ad seg unit, really high security unit for prisoners that get in fights and cause a lot of problems repeatedly. We had a prisoner who was sitting in one of our close observation cells. These cells are usually used for people who threaten harming themselves. In the summertime, prisoners will sometimes just say that they are suicidal to be put in one of these cells because they are a lot cooler and near AC vents than the normal housing units. The prisoners told me that this was what they were doing and that they didn't want to cause any problems. Later on that night, one of my partners and I were watching cameras and all of a sudden we see a shadow moving across the floor. Eventually it came to the close observation cell and disappears under the door. This is where it gets a little crazy. I do a round and check on the close observation cell. The prisoner is pacing in the cell. I ask the prisoner if they are okay, and the prisoner tells me that something doesn't feel right and that they are hearing voices that aren't there. I try to calm them down, and eventually they do lay on the bed. Later on, my partner calls for assistance because the prisoner had bit in the skin of their own wrist, causing them to bleed. Held them above their head and allegedly was speaking in tongues. Well, damn. When I started working at prisons in Michigan, I worked at a prison that is now closing. It was built back in 1877 and is one of the oldest prisons still operating in all of the United States. There were so many small experiences that I've had there. Doors would slam, you'd hear voices, cold chills. The first really notable experience I had was around Christmas time on third shift. I was working the oldest unit on the facility. Usually we don't have prisoners there, but we had opened the unit to separate prisoners during the COVID pandemic. I didn't have a partner due to how short-staffed we were, so one of the other officers set up a TV for me to keep me entertained because I'd be really far away from all the other units and get bored with no one to talk to. I do rounds for most of the night, watching TV in between them. I suddenly hear a banging noise from a door that leads to a hallway that takes you all the way to an even older, unused, condemned part of the prison. I open the door and take a look down the hallway. A cold breeze hits me suddenly, and my arm hairs stand on one end. I go and sit down and start watching TV again. The TV starts flipping through the channels rapidly and then stops on static. I have to get moved to a different unit because I'm scared shitless. That's crazy. But honestly, yeah, anything with a TV, like freaking the staticky thing, that freaks me out too. One day on third shift, my work friend and I were working positions that allowed us to have a lot of free time and no prisoners to watch. We decided to explore the prison. We explored the tunnels that went underneath the prison, the old barns, and the old unstaffed gun towers. We eventually decided to go look at the old condemned part of the prison from my earlier experience. There was a big metal gate that was about halfway down the hallway that had to be opened by a big skeleton key. We get back to the old condemned part and my friend tells me about how this part was supposed to be the old segregation. We had to see flashlights to see because the section was so old it's not powered. The energy back there I won't ever forget. Just being there filled me with a feeling of dread. I ask my friend to head back and we start to head back down where the hallway to the gate was. My friend's flashlight suddenly dies. We make it to the hallway, barely able to see anything in almost pitch blackness. Oh my gosh. We hear something running after us, so we start running up the hallway too. My friend fumbles with the key as we hear it getting closer. We get the gate open and sprint out of there. Later on, I noticed that my friend had red claw marks all over his arms. Ooh, that's creepy. Honestly, I am a little bit of a skeptic though with all of these things. Like I feel like a lot of it might have been coincidences, people messing with him. Like I'm thinking Orange is the New Black, the correctional officers in Orange is the New Black were not right, and they would totally do something like that to mess with other people. But those are all his stories, so I'm gonna move on to a different one. This guy has a lot of stories and he actually DM'd me a bunch. I don't know if it's a guy, but whatever. He actually DM'd me a bunch after this one, so we'll see if we have time for more. This is the subreddit Paranormal and the user Job Lint. The title of this is called The Door That Slammed Shut. Throughout my life, I've experienced a plethora of paranormal happenings. I'm not a medium, I don't think. I don't talk to ghosts or see them often, but I would say I'm sensitive, particularly to sensations and energies. One of the most significant experiences that I can remember happened around the 7th grade. One of my closest friends at the time had a haunted house that was built during the times of the Underground Railroad, and based on the layout of the basement, was also used as a stop for those traversing the Underground Railroad. That's cool. That's really cool. He had a large basement with what was basically open portions on the walls for storage, a bit above the ground like a window with no glass, that led back about 10 feet or so. The basement was laid out in a way when you come down the stairs, there is a wall on the right and a wall just in front, but you enter the basement on the left. In doing so, you are welcomed into a larger rectangular room with a door about 10 feet on the left, leading to a smaller room and a door straight ahead on the other side of the room that was basically a large closet. In that smaller room I mentioned on the left was where those interesting storage areas were. Maybe 2/3 of those crawl spaces that gave the impression that someone or something was being hidden in that basement. Most importantly, there was also a door next to the small closet door on the far end of the rectangular main room, which was stock propped all the way open with debris, trash, dirt, and had been there since Aiden could remember. It led to his porch and was full of more old shit and debris. It let in only a bit of light that the basement could get in. I hope that made some sense. I think he's trying to paint a picture for us, but I'm a little confused, so hopefully it all makes sense later on. It would do the story well to explain how ominous this house was. As I said before, I picked up on energies and feelings. This house was heavy, sad, and extremely grating. As a kid, I loved ghosts. Still do, and I found myself over there constantly trying to work up the courage to go down to that basement and explore. Usually nobody else wanted to do it, but on this specific night, it was just me and the kid who lived there. I'll call him Aiden. You already did. And I was able to convince him to ghost hunt with me. I had brought an old camcorder with a shitty night vision mode, an EVP recorder, and some flashlights. We went around the first floor doing what kids do, asking, "Is anyone there?" and freaking ourselves out. Nothing happened. Not until we went to the basement. We rounded the corner of the stairs, those old wooden kind with the gaps in between, with me leading the charge full of false confidence and excitement. We flashed our lights around the main room, scanning over large piles of trash and debris that the old unfurnished basement had piled up over the years and years of neglect. Spiderwebs skewed our vision a bit deeper into the room, but we trudged forward, making sure to watch our step. Our first goal was to enter the side room off to the left, which seemed to be a large storage room with shelves and of course those crawl spaces I had mentioned. We asked the typical question as I switched on the camera, and Aiden did the same with the EVP recorder. I felt cold, but it was cold that night, so I brushed it off. "Is anyone there?" Seconds went by with no sounds. "Can you send us a sign?" Nothing. I scanned my flashlight through the crawl spaces and nothing but dirt and debris. It was creepy, yeah, but nothing more than some kids being afraid of the dark. We moved on and out of that room, back into the rectangular room. We moved towards the small closet and propped the door open, continuing our questions, when Aiden decided he wanted to go into the closet alone. I decided that was fine and stood outside alone, asking my own questions and quietly shitting my pants. Alright then. It was terrifying. Such a heavy and disturbing presence, but nothing but silence. After what felt like 10 minutes, Aiden exited the room disappointed and said he had nothing. I sighed in agreement and we resigned ourselves to going upstairs to regroup and try something else. We walk about halfway down the rectangular room towards the stairs when we hear a loud scraping sound from just behind us and a sudden bang. It was just so fast, but I remember it so vividly. Like the sound of a chair scraping against the ground violently and then a slam so loud we could feel the vibrations. We both scream and run for the stairs, tripping a bit on the way and using our hands like dogs to propel ourselves up the stairs in record time. Honestly, this guy should be an author the way he writes. We didn't look back, not until we got to the stairs. Going up those stairs with gaps in them, I just barely registered that the propped open door had been slammed shut, but I didn't have time to really look. I couldn't look. I had to get out of there. A few minutes go by of us in disbelief, asking ourselves what the fuck just happened. It was all so fast and yet so painstakingly slow. But we couldn't just let it be. Of course not. We were kids. So we decided to go back down and officially see what had happened. We turned on the lights and cautiously made our way down. As I suspected, the door was slammed shut, but not firmly like I thought. There was a small crack now, but it had still closed significantly. We looked around for any explanation as Aiden insisted profusely that this door had never been shut. And then we found something. An old water bottle in the crack of the door, covered in dust and debris, now full of deep scratches and scrapes. Based on the position of the water bottle and the door, we assumed that it was propping the door open. It was ripped like someone ran a mile with it hanging off a leash and scrapping it on the ground. It was scratched like Wolverine got his claws on it. The door had shut so violently with the bottle under it that it basically crushed the bottle and other debris as it slammed itself shut for no discernible reason. In fact, the way the debris was piled up on the cracked floor with the bottle in front of the door made it impossible for it to swing shut on its own, as it would take considerable force even for an adult to shut it at all. We couldn't believe it. We felt like it was a warning, so we just kind of gave up and went upstairs to think about it until we passed out. Again, I'm a skeptic. I'm like, oh, someone was messing with them. I don't know. So instead of doing more from him today, I'll save his other stories for another day because he sent me a bunch. I'm telling you, like, I have like 10 stories here. Let's do creepy possessed toys. That freaks me out, honestly. Also from the subreddit Paranormal, and the username is Confused Confuzzled. Okay. Remember the times there were Furbies? Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a Furby that I thought was possessed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this is gonna trigger me. Oh yes, I'm reading these all for the first time on camera. I feel like it's more fun that way. I don't know. You let me know. The second sentence. Remember how it was often claimed that they were haunted or possessed? If you remember Furby, you may remember the super cute robot dog Poochie. I don't remember that one actually. It had a cute little bone you could put up to its nose, and it would have little lights that changed to hearts and stuff as it barked out some cute song. My experience was with this Poochie. Now I'm 30. Well, we're the same age. Well, I'm 31, but whatever. And got that Pooch as a kid around the time the first Harry Potter book was released. Can't remember the year, but it was a long time ago. I love that thing. Until it started randomly activating and barking its tune. Always at 10 p.m. Eventually I got annoyed at the glitch and took the batteries out. Wouldn't you know it, a few days later it went to barking. No batteries. And yes, I checked to make sure my mom hadn't put them back in. Every freaking night. So I got annoyed and threw it into the bottom of my toy box and covered it with lots of plushies to help muffle the noise. Then one day, Poochie is back on the shelf I had kept it on. This became a cycle, and I assumed the maid was the one that kept putting it back. One day, in anger that it wouldn't react when I decided I wanted to play with it, I got so mad I threw it as hard as I could onto the floor. Broke an ear and a leg, but suddenly it worked again. My next frustration with Poochie came shortly after, where I tossed him out of my second-story bedroom window. This time his head had kind of popped off, exposing cables. I took the batteries back out and proceeded to put it back on the shelf. Did it creep me out by then? Yes. Did I still love it? Enough to not want to throw it away. Back to the toy box it went, and this time I asked the maid to not move anything in the box, and yet I would still wake up to it barking. I tried popping the head all the way off one night in frustration. It was still batteryless, and the head was still hanging on by cables or wires, so I finally decided to throw it out. For months it just kept appearing on my shelf every few days. Throw it out and repeat. I don't know if Furbies are haunted, but there was definitely something weird about the robotic dog. I have a similar story, I'm not gonna lie. I guess I never thought of it as paranormal. I just thought it was like a coincidence. I don't know. Again, I'm a skeptic. Don't come for me. But I had a Furby, and similar. I couldn't figure out how to take out the battery. I was a really small kid when I got the Furby. I was like 8 years old, so it was a long time ago. And I got annoyed with it because it would just randomly go off even though I wasn't playing with it. I couldn't figure out how to take out the battery, so I wrapped it in a blanket and I put it in a closet that was outside my bedroom, literally like outside. I had to walk out my door, down a hallway to get it. So it was far. And somehow it would always go back to my room. And so I would ask my mom or also the housekeeper if it was her, and if it was them, and they would say no, it wasn't them. But then I would go back to the closet, I would put it back in the closet, and then like not always, it wouldn't always like appear in my room again. Sometimes it would just be like it made noise from the closet and I heard it. And I'm like, okay, well yeah, the battery was still in there, so it makes sense. But the Furby was so weird. I thought it was a glitch. It was so weird because you really weren't, it wasn't supposed to make sound until like unless you played with it, unless you were like doing something to it. So every time that happened, it freaked me out. So eventually I think I just threw it out. I really don't remember what I did with it. I don't remember what I did with it, but it never was to the point where I threw it out and it would appear on my shelf again. No, like that's creepy. It's like that honestly creeps me out. I also, when I was little, around the same age, I want to say, I had this My Twin doll. I wanted it for so long. It was before American Girl was like a big thing, and the My Twin dolls were a big thing. And so I had a My Twin doll, and it looked like me but evil. Like, she looked like me but evil. It was so scary, but I wanted it for so long, and it was so expensive that my mom, my aunt, my grandma, I think they all chipped in to get it for me on my birthday or Christmas. I don't remember which one. And we even had a matching outfit. Like, it was this cute velvet dress that we both, like, my twin doll and me, we had. And so I just kept having nightmares about this doll, that she came to life, recurring, that she came to life and tried to kill me. So I had this little day bed, and I would sleep by the window, and I every single time I would have that dream, it was recurring, like I want to say at least weekly, if not multiple times a week, I would see her appear in my window, and the window was never covered. I never put a freaking curtain there, and I don't know why. But I would see her appear in the window with a flash of lightning, and like the really scary movies, like flash of lightning appears, and then she has a knife in her hand, and she like somehow stabs me through the window. I don't remember how that, like, that's not a real thing. I know it was a dream, but it was recurring to the point where I did the same thing to her that I did with the Furby. And she would still appear. I remember I had this little like rocking chair that was like tiny. It was like for like little kids, like 5-year-olds. And I would still sit on that when I was like 8 and 10 and stuff. I don't know. I was too big for it, but I still sat on it. And that's where I would put her before I had like those dreams and stuff. And when I put her in the closet, wrapped in a blanket so I wouldn't have to see her face because she freaked me out, somehow she would still appear on that little rocking chair. Super creepy. Honestly, though, I don't think that's paranormal, like I said. It was just a really creepy incident. Anything with toys just freaks me out. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end it there. Let me know which story was your favorite. That last one was like... Let me know if you like these, and I'll keep doing them. But definitely the month of October is just so much fun. If you have any stories you want me to read, send them to me. You can either email me, which my email will be down below, or you can DM me on Instagram. Either way, I will read them, and this is so much fun. Or if you have any Reddit stories in particular, you can send me the links to those as well, and I'll get permission from the author. But yeah, that completes this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one. Bye. But Halloween is literally my favorite time. But Halloween is literally my most favorite. What? We had a large basement with what basically opened portions. Oh my gosh. He had a large basement with what was basically... Oh.